Hey, BRCC. Welcome to today's devotion on joy. Today, even with a pandemic, about 200,000 people will be lifted out of abject poverty. About 300,000 will be connected to the electrical grid. The standard of living in Africa today is about what it was in Europe in the early 1960s. That's amazing. Of course, there's huge inequality and there's still terrible poverty, but the truth is we're lifting people out of poverty at a faster rate than ever before in human history. And that's been going on at an almost unbelievable pace for 20 years. It's strange irony, doesn't it? Worldwide, people enjoy more wealth today than they've ever experienced, but they also suffer more misery and more hopelessness than they've ever felt. Why? Well, why are people so empty even in the midst of such plenty? I believe it's because we're all looking for the thing we need most in the whole world. We're looking for redemption, but we're looking for it inside ourselves, or we're looking for it in our material possessions or in our relationships with other people. The truth is it's not there. It's none of those places. None of us is everything we should be, and we know it. We can't even live up to our own idea of what we could be. And that produces suffering. For those who are honest with themselves, that means instead of looking to yourself for the solution, you have to look to yourself and see that you're the problem. And that's a hard thing to admit. Maybe it's a terrible thing. Pretty much the whole Bible is the story of redemption, right from the first verse. That's where we learn God redeemed the nothingness and created potential. Then he spoke truth into that potential, and the universe leapt into existence. Now, creating something out of nothing seems pretty redemptive to me, but if that's not good enough for you, look what God does just a couple of chapters later. Adam makes a mess of creation. He betrays God and he aligns himself with Satan, and in the process, he disfigures God's image. But God promises even then a Redeemer will come and turn everything right side up that Adam's sin has turned upside down. The Bible is one story after another of man falling and failing and God redeeming until the ultimate Redeemer comes to do again, in a sense, what God did in that first verse. Except in Genesis 1, God made all new things. Jesus makes all things new. He's already started on a cross near a filthy dump outside a dusty town in a far-off Roman colony. You might be asking, what's all this have to do with our topic today? What's it got to do with joy? Well, everything. Because according to the Bible, the route to joy is closely linked to redemption. The Bible shows us that God redeems. He lifts his people up. And that can be a painful process. From slavery to freedom, from the wilderness to the promised land, from darkness to light, from the cross to resurrection. The psalmist shows us the route here in Psalm 126, verses 5 and 6. He says this, starting at verse 5. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. Are there tears in your life? If there aren't now, just wait a while. But know that if you belong to Jesus Christ, not one of your tears are wasted, not one of your tears are forgotten. In Psalm 126, the writer compares our tears to seed. He says, you may go into the field weeping, but thanks to the Lord Jesus, you'll return carrying sheaves of blessing. You may not see it now, but the route to joy very often goes through the valley of the shadow. Remember that first Easter Sunday? A band of miserable disciples holed up and hiding out because their teacher had been crucified. And then in an almost instant, it all changes. Jesus returns from the grave. He conquers death. He does exactly what God promised way back in Genesis. He's redeemed us guilty evildoers. But he didn't do it by wishing it so. He did it by dying on a cross. No matter how hard you try, you won't find redemption inside yourself or in your things or even with the people you love. Instead, look to the one who has experienced a kind of affliction you and I can't even imagine. The one who has planted his tears deep in the soil of infinite suffering and then returns with songs of joy. carrying the sheaves from a rich harvest. It's He, the Lord Jesus, who lifts us from darkness to light, from want to plenty, from death to life. It's He, Jesus, who sows with tears so that you and I can reap with songs of joy.
Sleep in